What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Listography. Jason, Joe, and Nordista Freeze joining us. Cram's taking the week off this week, so we called in back up. Nordista has got a great new record out called Big Sky Pipe Dream. Everyone should go check it out. It's really good. We've been talking about Daft Punk all week. We ranked their records on Tuesday, gave you our top 10 songs on Wednesday. Side 3 this week, we're going to take a little inspiration from their Tron Legacy soundtrack. And, we've talked about some records on the channel before like this, where one artist will do an entire soundtrack. We did Flash Gordon. We ranked that with the Queen sound, with the Queen Listography. And we also did the 1984 soundtrack by the Eurythmics. So we're going to talk a little bit more of that sort of thing. Single artist soundtracks is the topic for today. We're each going to give you 5 picks. Joe, you want to go first again?
Yeah, I'll kick things off. Start with a score from a movie that's one of my favorites of the 2010s. I'm going to go with the Social Network soundtrack from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. It's just so, I don't know if it's because I love the movie, but the way it works with the movie, it's so like this big synths that kind of like, I don't know, not evil sounding that Trent Reznor kind of brings to the table, but like there's so much like anxiety and like darkness in it. And it really works for the movie. It works on its own too. There's some really cool stuff in motion, especially. And this weird remix of In the Hall of the Mountain King that they did for one particular boat racing scene. It works great for the movie and it works great alone as well. I'm going to do one from another movie I love, consider one of the most underrated movies of the 80s, Legend, with, of course, Tim Curry's performance as the devil is just like one of the great villain performances of all time. But the soundtrack itself was done by Tangerine Dream, and they brought on John Anderson and Brian Ferry, and they both do a song with vocals. The rest of it's just Tangerine Dream's sort of like big sweeping 80s sounding synth stuff, but very cool. They actually, on the director's cut of Legend, they replace it with a score, I think, from Jerry Goldsmith, and it totally changes the whole movie and makes it worse. Like I want those big, cool 80s sounding synths from Tangerine Dream in there. Really cool soundtrack. I'm also going to do one from Madonna. She did, it's weird. It's like a competing soundtrack for Dick Tracy, because Dick Tracy has a soundtrack, but she was in Dick Tracy and she did her own soundtrack. It has Vogue on it, which was a huge hit for her. And she kind of does this more like, this 40 noir jazz style. It's a big kind of shift from her normal, pop kind of cutting edge kind of sound, the risque stuff that she was doing. It's a little more jazzy and swingy. And it's we didn't include it in our Madonna listography. We probably should have, though. It's a pretty good album from her. Would be in my top 5 if it had been included. I'm going to go with the last great Jay-Z album, and it was the soundtrack to American Gangster. Big Jay-Z fan, as people may or may not know. I don't know. But this one, I don't know what it was. He kind of had tailed off at this point, but whatever it was for this movie, he got all his good ideas back, and it's really kind of like harsh, but very musical as well, kind of taking sounds from, I don't know, probably like Curtis Mayfield and some of like the old school blaxploitation films, and just a really cool album from him. We're not really ranking these, but the best is obviously Purple Rain. It's probably the best album of all time. One of my 2 favorites of all time for sure. Prince did 4 different soundtracks, but this is quite obviously the best. So yeah, I figured I better say it, because if I didn't, people in the comments would be like, well, Joe, where's Prince? Where's Purple Rain, man? So I gotta put it out there.
Those are great picks. I did not see some of those come in, and that is awesome. Actually, am I totally ignorant for not knowing that Purple Rain was from a film? Like I've obviously listened to it and I'm familiar with it. I didn't realize that it was a part of a film. So
Yeah, man. Purple Rain, the movie, is awesome. I went right after Prince died. They put it back in the theaters, and I went and saw it. It was maybe the best theater experience I've ever had. It was so much fun. People were like singing along in the theater, and it was awesome.
that's super cool. That's super cool. Well, I'll have to check it out. Hopefully someone in the comments agrees and is also ignorant. I'm not just going to be totally blasted, but if so, that's okay, because I definitely need to listen to more Prince. All right, here's my 5. Number 5, I want to do Bob Dylan. It's got Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. Everything Dylan does is great. I'm a huge Dylan fan, and I had to bring that on there. I thought it's a really just a great record. And number 4, because I have to put for the only time in my life that I could put Jack Johnson above Bob Dylan. Just to make people mad at me. Man, come on, the Curious George soundtrack is just like iconic. I feel like Jack Johnson, whether people hate it or not, really tapped into like a very iconic sound that I know has been made fun of on like SNL, is like putting your feet in the sand. But there is something really cool to it. There's something attractive to it, even though I'm not a huge Jack Johnson stan. I do think that that album is great, and some of those songs I think are completely timeless. Speaking of timeless, number 3 is an iconic choice. Almost more of objective than subjective choice. I think it's just like has to be on there. Is the Tarzan soundtrack by Phil Collins. It's just, I mean, like none of us can even, you know, I don't even know what a Gen Z kid would think about it, but it's just like, how can I not? I mean, how can you not love it? It's just so gorgeous, and it's just like we're so nostalgically tied. So maybe it is subjective, but it's just it's in your heart, as he says. So number 2 is got to be my high school pick, which is Eddie Vedder's Into the Wild. I'm sure many can agree to having like an experience with that as a young person, and just the ruggedness of that record and of Eddie Vedder's wicked voice over these songs, and these guitar songs. It's pretty touching, and they really did a good job picking him for that film. I'm glad he did it because no one else could have done it like him, and it's just cool to hear his voice in that context, outside of like Pearl Jam, and just really, really great. My top pick. So this is actually pretty interesting. I'm curious if anyone is familiar with this. I wanted to do from the film Goats. The entire soundtrack is made by Jason Schwartzman, the actor of many Wes Anderson films. He's got a project called Coconut Records, and I don't think that I don't recall the film being extremely memorable, but I love his soundtrack. I'm a big fan of Jason Schwartzman. I think his music is really great. He's one of those actors who just like has I think because of acting, just a really interesting perspective on music. It's like he comes to it from a different perspective than I do, and it's great. He's got other great records, but the Goat soundtrack, I was really excited when that came out. I remember when I saw it, and so it stuck with me as being really a great piece of indie culture. So that's my 5.
Nice. I don't know that. I like Jason Schwartzman. I like Coconut Records. Is it actually like billed as Coconut Records, or is it billed as Jason Schwartzman?
I think it's billed as Coconut Records. I know if you type them into like whatever streaming platform, you could find it on there.
Right before we recorded this, I mentioned that we did a video of bands named after food, and I mentioned Coconut Records. All right, my 5. Let's see what I'm going to go with here. I'm going to start with About a Boy soundtrack by Badly Drawn Boy. It was a very cool indie singer-songwriter, I guess. I think Cram would probably have put that on his list if he were here today. I think he's a big fan of About a Boy. I'm going to follow Joe's lead and go with a Prince album. I'm going to go with the Batman soundtrack, though. I haven't heard it in years and years, but I had it on record when I was a little kid, and I would listen to it back in the day. I probably haven't heard it since the early 90s, but I'm going to go with that one. I guess for my next one, I'll go with Superfly by Curtis Mayfield. Some just classic R&B, funk, just his voice on it. So great, iconic. The title track is amazing, of course. My next one, small cheat. I'm going to go with the Once soundtrack. Glenn Hansard, Marketa Erglova, the Swell Season, as they were called together. Really good, beautiful soundtrack. There is one other song on the soundtrack that is not by them. So I'm gonna sneak that in there. My last one though, and this is a record that I think is really underrated. I think it's great. I think it's full of great songs by a classic artist, and I think this record stands up to some of the best stuff he's ever written, at least some of the material on it. I'm gonna go with She's the One by Tom Petty, which I think is a great record. Just a lot of really good tunes. I love Walls, of course, is the one that so many people have covered, and it's also got Angel Dream on it. I just think there's a whole bunch of really great songs, and I can put this on and listen to it anytime without even considering that it's even a soundtrack. I just think it's a really cool record. I think that movie totally bombed though. All right, so yeah, you know the drill. Put down whatever ones we missed down in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. You'll find links to all of our social media down in the description. I'll also leave links to all of Nordista Freeze's stuff, his website, his music. Definitely do yourself a favor, go check it out. His new record, Big Sky Pipe Dream, again, is excellent, really cool 60s pop inspired stuff. I think it's really a fun record. It's a good listen. I think people will enjoy it. People that watch this channel, I think, will be into it. And, you know, check his tour dates. He's on the road a lot, so maybe you can catch him. His live show, top notch. Was blown away.
So much. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks again for doing the show. I hope it was fun. And we thrilled to have you. You can come back anytime you like.
I would love
see you
that
next
so
time,
much.
people.
Thanks, y'all.